Help continue quality PBS programs like Frontline. Support PBS and local PBS stations by making a gift today. Donate now.
The world's biggest powers clashed, resulting in a war that would become more deadly than all others in history up to that point, combined. New, deadly weapons were constructed just for this event. The world's most brilliant minds were exploited in order to kill as many people as possible.
You see, a war like this doesn't just happen. It's as if I walk into McDonald's and order every item on the menu, except the Big Mac. It doesn't just work like that. I need a catalyst, and for the world, the catalyst was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
Franz Ferdinand really looked like an imbecile, and that had absolutely nothing to do with his assassination, but it's true.
How did such a tragedy occur? Find out as PBS News with special guests Ali Snowplow Wazir, Ravi Roastmaster Shah, Sashank Ice Cube Shorey, Akhil John Stewart Mutyala, Areeb Siddiqui, and ex-con insert name here.
The Great War was caused by numerous European powers clashing for supremacy against each other, which explains why such drastic measures were taken in order to ensure it.
Possibly the biggest rivalry among the great powers, as it were, was that between Germany and England, caused in no small part by the fact that the rulers of both were cousins. Basically, it was a family rivalry between Little Willie, who was looked down upon because of a smaller arm, due to a birth defect, and the Great George of Britain. A naval race ensued between both. Before long, Britain released the HMS Dreadnought, which put all other ships to shame, even Britain's own.
The Dreadnought was to other ships what Britain already was to Europe. It was the most advanced ship ever made, and it was among the most maneuverable. Another cause of the war was extreme nationalism.
The Ottoman Empire, known as the sick man of Europe, was in complete chaos because of its lack of unity. There were nationalist uprisings in almost every part of the empire, and with the government having had no commonality with each nation, the nations had no incentive to stay.
Now, the Ottoman Empire had been in decline for decades now, spurred by movements like the Young Turks, who wanted to reform the empire along European lines. However, Assanid sultans prevented such a reformation from happening, thereby cementing the Ottoman Empire's fate.
In the face of such disarray, empires allied in order to imperialize the Ottomans and to help each other's superiority.
This included that of Russia and Germany, that of Britain and Belgium, and that of Italy and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. However, these publicized treaties caused problems. Countries that had intense hatred towards each other had common allies, forcing secret alliances that were exposed by the war. Eventually, the alliances were simplified. The Triple Alliance was formed by Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Britain, and the Triple Entente among Britain, Russia, and France.
The war escalated very quickly after the July crisis, which was caused by the Archduke's assassination.
I said this before, and I had to say it again. He looked like an idiot. How he came to be the heir of the throne is beyond me, but if I were picking the heir to my throne, I would definitely take into account the number of times each candidate was bashed in the head.
With each alliance trying desperately to one-up the other with weaponry, highly advanced weapons were created, including mustard gas, machine guns, and tanks.
There were incredibly deadly weapons that each side created, resulting in a war deadlier than anyone would have and could have predicted prior to. For example, mustard gas, which was so unpredictable that scientists were hired by the Triple Alliance in order to prophesy weather patterns, killed not only enemy troops, but also friends. It's like throwing a concussion grenade in hardcore mode Call of Duty to be a troll to your teammates and your 8-year-old squirt, but this was no joke, people died.
Eventually led to the development of gas masks, but they had little use because of the iota of space needed for the gas to seep through a man's clothing and kill him. This, compounded with trench warfare, created a weapon far deadlier than imagined by Germany. As the gas spread through trenches, people a fair amount away from each other could be affected by the same grenade, leading to heavy deformations.
Another tactic used was flanking.
Flanking was a relatively old tactic, but it worked nonetheless, as it was relatively safe for the flanker and highly deadly for the side being flanked. Essentially, a regiment would be approached from multiple sides by enemies, as seen in the red. They would use cover to not expose that they were flanking. The result was a last stand of sort. The surrounded troop would either kill itself off or die trying. A song written many years later beautifully illustrates this idea. 1738, I'm like, hey, what's up, hello? Seen your pretty face when you came through the door.
Because flanking was such a necessary part of the Great War, special regiments called cavalries were formed to specialize in different aspects of the war. There were cavalries of just men with guns on horses, of men on foot with machine guns, and of tanks and horses. Each had its own purpose, so each was used differently based on the situation. For example, men on foot may have been used in trench warfare. They would crouch in trenches in the muggy heat and shoot blindly at enemies hundreds of feet away, often to gain only yards of territory. Furthermore, men on horses would have been used to march throughout other nations, as was done with the Schleifenpflug. However, cavalries were also easy targets.
Because cavalries were relatively unprotected, they were extreme easy targets.
Often troops would rush out of the trenches due to a gas breaching their territory, leaving them unprotected as they would usually leave their weapons inside. So the men had no weapons and couldn't see because of their gas masks, which were essentially blindfolds that decreased your chances of dying by a very small margin.
This extreme vulnerability made them targets for two types of attacks: sniping and bombings.
When a sniper attacked, all hell broke loose. Everyone was a target, so the smartest idea was to play dead, as if all had been shot. However, this didn't work because snipers would just shoot those who looked dead in order to make sure that they in fact were deceased. Just like Meek Mill's career after Drake roasted him in 2 Fire mixtape diss tracks.
The other method of mass killing was bombing, along with flyby shootings. Even though plans were relatively atavistic, they were used for modern purposes.
Because they were such pieces of trash, they flew very low to the ground, making them the best weapon for slaughtering as many enemies as possible. With their machine guns, planes were not only able to take each other down, but also take down ground troops. They're also used to drop bombs and gas into trenches. It's like going into the corner of Call of Duty and blocking your teammate so that you both die when an enemy notices you.